Good morning, this is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you from Baghdad, Iraq on March 30th, 2024. I've never been to the country before, arrived here for the first time late last night. And today, my first full day in Baghdad, I will be speaking at length with a gentleman by the name of Hussein Barood. Hussein Barood is the elected spokesperson of an organization here in Iraq which is committed to ensuring that Iraq becomes a full-blown member of China's famous Belt and Road Initiative. He's also a Shia Muslim who was born and raised in Iraq, fought against the forces of Saddam Hussein, ultimately spent 4 years in an internment camp in the desert of Saudi Arabia, and emigrated to the United States. So he speaks English very well. He spent quite a while in the United States, but decided to return to Iraq in 2016. So we'll be hearing from him what prompted him to come back to Iraq and what the state of affairs is in the country today. In particular, what the status is of efforts to bring an end to the American occupation of this region. And secondly, he and I will then go on a tour of Baghdad, and he's going to be taking me to some of the more notable parts of the city and showing me some of the impacts of the American aggression and occupation on the city of Baghdad. Behind me, by the way, is a poster committed to the memory of a person who was widely admired here in Iraq. His name was Abu Akhti al-Mukhandi. He was the deputy chairman of Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces. He was assassinated along with several other Iranian and Iraqi nationals in 2020 by the Trump administration. The person who was killed in that attack and who was most discussed in the Western media was the Major General of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, Qasem Soleimani, considered by the United States to be a top enemy of the West. He was killed outside of the airport in Baghdad along with these others, including al-Mukhandis. And the Trump administration almost ignited a major and devastating war with Iran, but fortunately cooler heads ultimately prevailed. And when I was coming out of the airport in Baghdad, I saw a monument to both al-Mukhandis and Soleimani and the others who were killed in that assassination attempt. And I've learned in the short time that I've been here is that to this very day, there is a considerable amount of popular anger over that assassination. In any event, my discussion with Hussein Barood is going to take place in two parts. The first part will be in the lobby of a hotel where we're going to have an extensive discussion about matters, and then the second part will be the tour he's going to take me on of some more notable parts of the city of Baghdad. I hope you find this informative, and if you do, please like these videos and please share them. This is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you on March 30th, 2024 from Baghdad, Iraq. And today I have the great pleasure of being joined by Hussein Barood. Thank you so much for speaking to me today, Hussein.
Thank you, Dimitri. Nice meeting you.
So, the way I came to know Hussein, just so you all know, is that a mutual friend and academic from Britain put me in touch here with people who are involved, Iraqis who are involved, shall we say, in trying to liberate the country from the strictures of American domination in various ways. And they put me in touch with Hussein, and Hussein today and I have had a conversation, get to know about the work he's been doing. And I'd like to begin by asking you about your background, particularly how long you were in Iraq, then you left for the United States. Why did you leave the United States, and what circumstances, and why did you come back?
Well, in 1986, I was arrested by the Iraqi government.
This would have been by the Hussein government, the Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein. I was 16 years old because I refused to join the Ba'ath party at that time. I had a fist fight actually with them. And, apparently, they had my brother, had him recorded on tapes, talking against Saddam Hussein. So they thought there is a connection in the family that against the government at that time. Anyways, 1991, when the Intifada happened, and I was there, so I had a part.
So just for those who don't know what the word Intifada means, it means uprising.
Uprising against Saddam Hussein after the invasion of Kuwait and losing the Desert Storm War. And basically the country was totally ruined, destroyed.
And as I recall, I was at that time, I would say, almost 30 years old. I recall that the Bush administration, the older Bush, more or less encouraged the Shia Muslims to rise up against Saddam. Is that correct?
Well, he said the people should not be living with that tyrant, but the issue is people got fed up. You see, along Saddam Hussein, once he got in power, he started a war against Iran. A war is basically, it's a U.S. war, not a world war. It's an Israel war.
Against Iran, you're referring
against
to
Iran,
right,
exactly.
yes,
It's a proxy war.
Right.
I mean, we got nothing to do with Iran. I mean, where's the problem with Iran? We have no problem. Iran changed system and kicked out the United States and kicked out the Zionist system out of Iran, and they called they made the embassy of the Zionists at that time the embassy of Palestine, and things start moving because basically they were like establishing an Islamic state and ruled by Shiite Muslim. Basically, that's what it is. Iraq, for a reason, for no reason, went into that war. Yeah, that war, the Gulf countries, they were paying for it.
For the Iraqi war against Iran.
Exactly, and because, you see, it was sectarian. Whether we want it or not, it was a sectarian war between, and the Wahhabis, they were driving that war.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what happened.
So this war happens, then the invasion of Kuwait happens.
8 years was able to put the Iraqi economy totally down, and Kuwait was stealing oil from the southern part, digging deep, horizontal.
Yes, horizontal, yes.
Horizontal digging, and they were like stealing oil from the Iraqi oil inside of Iraq.
Yeah, so they were basically tapping into reserves that were underneath directly.
Exactly, and that's what happened. Is they got to a conflict, and then we got the Section 8 against Iraq, and then we got the sanction, and we got everything happened to Iraq at that time. Anyways, people are fed up with Saddam Hussein's system. All the executions, all the people in the prisons, all the people that had to leave the country. Things got all together and just blew. Everything went out of hand. Blew. And Saddam Hussein, within like a couple of weeks, lost 14 cities out of 18 cities. Yeah. At that time, King Fahd was the king of Saudi Arabia, and he told Bush that 1 million Saddam will be tolerated, but we are not able to tolerate one Shiite Muslim governing Iraq. Therefore, they allow Saddam Hussein, while he was banned from using any artillery, any weapon, any missiles, any helicopters, any jet fighters, anything, or even moving his military inside of the country. They allowed him to do whatever he wants to do.
So the Saudi monarch encouraged Bush to enable Saddam to put down violently the uprising.
Exactly, the Saudis and the rest of the Gulf.
Okay.
With Jordan.
And then, so how did this affect you? How did you react to this situation?
Well, basically, that means Saddam Hussein will take revenge. Because you fought against him, he has to take revenge. And he took revenge. He killed over 380,000 Iraqi people.
This was in the 90s?
91.
In 1 year?
Not even 1 year. That's during 2 weeks. He hit Najaf city 58 cruise missiles. He struck the Najaf city with a 58 cruise missile.
This is a predominantly Shia Muslim city.
Predominantly Shia Muslim city. Yeah. He hit Karbala.
Which is a sacred site.
It's a sacred site. All the sacred site. All the rest of the cities. He managed to kill 380,000 people within 2 weeks. And Saddam Hussein and his military, his supporters, they made over 450 mass grave yards in Iraq during that time. Until now, half of them being discovered and opened. The rest of them, when they still searching for it. You see that? So people fled. I fled Iraq. I went to Saudi Arabia. I stayed there for 4 years in the desert, in a confined camp where you cannot go in, you cannot get out, you cannot do anything, in the middle of the desert, living in a tent.
This was which year now that you were living in the tent?
From 91,
Yes.
March, April 91 till September 94.
And was that the time, September 94, when you finally managed to get to the United States?
Exactly.
And did you go alone, or did you go with family?
No, I was by myself actually. I was alone, and
And you had political asylum. You were a refugee. How did you get in?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Political asylum, refugees, and they kind of put it as an immigrant. You see, United States, they say immigrants. That contains everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went there, and I stayed there till I came back to Iraq actually.
Before we get to your coming back to Iraq, I just want to ask you something about the time you spent in the United States. How many years were you there?
I was till almost 2016.
And by the time you left, would you say you had a comfortable life? Was your life more or less secure, stable? Or did you find that the experience of living in the United States was an unpleasant one for you?
Well, actually, I was securely stable. But during the September time,
You're talking about 2001?
2000,
The 9/11.
was very harsh for minorities, for Muslims, for Arabs. United States does not stop creating problems and going into wars and having problems with the rest of the world. And unfortunately, we are from the Middle East, and most of their problems are in the Middle East. So every time we are on the hot spot, every time we are in the hot oven, it's hard to stay like that.
Right.
You know.
So you, if I understand correctly, economically things were fine, but you didn't feel particularly welcome as a Muslim and an Arab.
It's even being honest. The people are okay, nice, but the system is miserable. System is not made to serve a human being. It's not made to support family. It's not made to. When I got to United States, there was no medical, no social medical for people.
Right.
You get sick, you are on your own. Hospitals, they don't have to treat you. Till Bill Clinton came and said, okay, if you get critically sick, then you have the right to go to an ER room, and then they treat you just to get you stable. And then they don't have to do anything to you. That's how things was. Anyways.
So 2016, you decide to come back. And was there some particular thing that happened that made you want to come back, or was there like an accumulation
of things, and I decided to come back. And when I came back, I was thinking about going back, but
to the United States?
yeah.
Oh,
And then
does that still happen from time to time? Do you still think from time to time about going back?
It does actually, but I decided to get over the idea. I went to Western Europe and to England, went to Ireland for like almost 3-4 months. And actually I liked Europe, probably Ireland or Austria, things like that would be much comfortable for me to be like if I want to be out.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But for the time being, at least, you've decided you're going to
stay in Iraq and practice my things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the movement.
Yes.
You're a spokesperson for a movement here.
All over Iraq,
You've been elected to actually be the spokesperson of that movement in Iraq.
Yes.
Could you tell us what is the name of the movement and what's it all about?
The public movement for the Belt and Road Initiative in Iraq. It's basically this movement. The Belt and Road Initiative is a Chinese initiative that calls for, you know, development of economies, especially in our world. Not the Western world, no. I mean,
In the global south.
in the global south, and also in that region, because the region of oil and gas and all the on the fuel the world wants, you know, needs, and actually also as you see, people figured right now that all the Red Sea and the Arab Sea and all these areas are more important than the rest of the world. Why? Because that's where the oil and gas and things move to the rest of the world.
Which Southeast Asia very much needs.
Exactly, and so United States decided that's 2015 when Haidar al-Abadi was invited by the Chinese and went to China.
Who was Haidar al-Abadi?
Al-Abadi was the Iraqi prime minister at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, so he went to China and he signed a deal, and that deal that Iraq joined the Belt and Road Initiative with China. And the deal was almost $450 trillion over
Trillion or billion?
$1 billion, sorry. No, that trillion is kind of crazy number.
I think that's bigger than the global economy.
I'm like where I'm at.
But
No.
still, it's a lot of money.
It's actually a billion.
Yeah.
Over a period almost of 30 years almost. And China.
This was a deal just between China and Iraq?
In Iraq, because Belt and Road Initiative, the way how it works, you choose the things that you want to do in your country. What type of factories, what type of farming, what type of anything, technologies you want them, and they'll do them for you. And they'll support you on it. In the United States told Haidar al-Abadi, you are not going to give you $1. You cannot do that. So
They basically ordered him
Exactly.
not to do this deal with the Chinese.
Yeah, and then they came and they sent the monetary fund,
The International
the
Monetary
monetary fund to do investments and to loan Iraq money. That's funny. We have their money. I call it hostage in their banks.
So let's talk about that, because this is very important context so people understand.
And they loan us money, you know.
Yeah. So I found out about this today. Shows how little I know about this country. You explained to me before we began our discussion on camera that after the United States launched this criminal war of aggression against her people and ensconced itself here, it effectively acquired control over the oil and gas revenues. So tell me, how does that work exactly?
Right away in 2003, once they got into Iraq, Bush signed that. It's a presidential order.
And what does this order stipulate more or less?
Under a name of development account box for the Iraqi national system. Okay. The issue is, let's look at it that way. Is there something more important than electricity for people in the world? To live, to produce, to make, to do things, right? To live in general. The United States does not allow Iraq to build its own electricity. We are getting electricity from Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Iran, and a little bit in Iraq, the old system.
Wow.
Yeah.
But this order, I didn't know that either. The order, as I understand it, requires all of the, or most of the revenue from the sale of oil and gas in
Everything,
Iraq,
no, not most. Every
Everything?
penny.
it goes into an account.
It goes into account in the TPI. JB Morgan.
Controlled by the United States government.
And it's controlled, and nobody would spend a dime unless United States allow it. And the money comes in an airplane from JB Morgan to Baghdad International Airport.
The money that's authorized to be taken out of
to
that
be
account.
taken, and United States actually is the biggest supporter of corruption in Iraq, because you bring the money and you put it in the hand of the people that runs the show, and
It's a free-for-all.
it's a free for all.
Right.
Exactly. There is actually no.
Just real quick, how much money is it your understanding is currently in that account?
It's like almost 140
$140 billion
billion.
US.
Yes. Yes.
Correct. Okay,
And-
sorry, you were saying.
Yes, and above all that, I would believe that United States wants to do something good in Iraq. If they would use the money along these years to support different type of industries, to make things
Like an electricity generation industry.
electricity, to support, farming, to support real colleges, to support the health ministry, to do things. To do things that really effective. To bring jobs to the Iraqi market, also to implement factories, to do things. Is this what usually called as a development, or I'm mistaken here? I
Yes,
don't know.
yeah.
Okay, so how does the American understand that?
So presumably you believe, because you're so committed to this movement, that the Belt and Road Initiative is a much better option than American development, however.
There is no development. It's basically what they do is they hold you from the herd hand. Once you want to stand in their face or against them, they kind of pinch you, squeeze you, so you get hurt. Pretty much your money is in our pocket. Once you go against, or you don't want to do what we want you to do, or against us, then you have no money. Go face your people in the street.
So how much support do you think your movement has here in Iraq?
We have a big support, actually. We are all over Iraq almost. And we have people, when we started, people almost knows nothing about the Belt and Road Initiative. I start talking about it, and I'll send you the little short. It was a short film, 2017, talking about that in American embassy, and calling for Iraq not to head toward the International Monetary Fund.
I just want to say as a footnote, it's a very little detail, but it's interesting because of what you've been telling me. We're in the lobby of a hotel called the Babylon Rotana, I believe it is. Rotana. I'm not staying here. I'm staying about a couple of kilometers away from here, and I was just walking along the river. This is the Euphrates River?
This is the Tigers.
I should know this. I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah.
In any event, I got hungry, and so I came into this hotel. It's this nice hotel, and it sat down, had a buffet, and while I was waiting for you to come, and I noticed a couple of things. I noticed that outside, in front of the hotel, they have a semicircle of flags. I saw the People's Republic of China flag. I saw the Russian Federation flag. I didn't see the American flag out there. That's the first thing I noticed, which is surprising for a pretty nice hotel in the center of the capital of a major country in West Asia. But then I went in and I had buffet, and everybody in that buffet I thought they were Chinese. I didn't see anybody who looked to me like an American or a Canadian or a European, which is just an interesting little detail. But sometimes your first impressions of a country, because I've never been here before, can be quite revealing.
Yeah, exactly.
And in any event, so I want to come back to your movement. What is stopping the country now? Now you have this support, people becoming educated about the benefits of the Belt and Road Initiative. Obviously, the Iraqi people are having more and more interaction with the Chinese people. What's stopping the country now from becoming a full-fledged member of the Belt and Road Initiative?
The United States. See, I want to give you a piece of information. United Kingdom, when they had to, 1986, when they left Hong Kong, they actually wanted to subsidize the position of Hong Kong, the Basra, the FAO.
I don't know, could you explain that?
United Kingdom, their deal was, okay, if we get out of Hong Kong,
Yes.
1986,
Yes.
we have to take the FAO city in southern Basra, southern Iraq. The FAO.
Oh, like
Yeah.
a trade, you mean?
Exactly. And they've been hitting on it since then, but they could not do it because of the wars and all the problems and all that. And that would explain why, when the international forces came to take Saddam Hussein regime down, actually to occupy Iraq, the British said we're gonna stay in Basra. Only in Basra.
Are they still in Basra?
No, they got out. They got
They
kicked
got-
out. They got kicked.
Well done. So is one of the ways in which the United States prevents this from happening its control of that massive oil
Controlling
fund?
exactly. See, basically, Iraq lives on only the revenue of oil.
So it has enormous leverage. The United States government has enormous leverage over the state of Iraq.
Not just enormous, actually, they have everything. I mean, literally everything is in their hand right now. Why? Because the money is in their banks.
And which companies are actually extracting oil? Is it primarily American oil companies and European oil companies? Or does Iraq have a substantial domestic oil extraction industry?
It used to be. Right now, everything is international. U.S., British, French, Russian, Lube oil. We have some Chinese, Indonesian, Nigerian, other countries. Basically.
So last night, this brings us to the question of military control. Last night, I went on the U.S. State Department website and was doing some, or it might have been the Pentagon, but I was doing some research into the presence of U.S. military forces in Iraq. And I had been operating under the impression that the United States military had one base left in Iraq. But I quickly learned last night that it actually has different names for them. It calls them forward camps and training centers. But it actually has, it seems to me, anywhere from 10 to 15, I didn't count them all up, military installations pretty much all over the country, including several in and around Baghdad. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. Actually, even the embassy of the United States is a huge deal. There is no such an embassy in that big size, huge, like thousands of employees in that embassy. How many people you want to? You need to run it. 50.
Probably a military force.
This is
in
like
there.
a
Yes.
No, we call it actually not. This is a spy center, not just military force, and it has a lot of things to do with the operations of assassinations and all that.
Does Israel have an embassy here?
No, but I think they have a part of the United States embassy.
Right. So there was a resolution, I understand. This has actually been reported upon several times in the West by the Iraqi parliament for the United States military forces to leave the country.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
By the way, when was that adopted and how much support did it have?
Oh, that's adopted after the assassination of Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis al-Qasim, General Qasim Soleimani.
And that was 2019 by the Trump administration.
By the crazy Trump
The crazy. That just I saw as I was coming out of the Baghdad airport last night. There was a big banner.
Statue.
Of Soleimani.
Yeah. It was a decision. It was a decision by the parliament. But unfortunately, the parliament is not the part that where they make decisions. But as you know, parliament, their job is to to create laws and to overwatch, supervise things.
So this, perhaps the way to look at it is the Prime Minister has control of foreign policy.
Exactly,
This is essentially a
exactly,
decision.
exactly.
So what is the status of this demand? I'll call it a demand, even though the Parliament has limited ability to enforce it. How has the American military and government responded to this? Has there been any real movement?
Well,
Any reduction in military forces at all?
no, they actually add up. They don't reduce.
Increase.
See, the funny thing is, Mohammed Shah al-Sudani, Prime Minister Mohammed Shah, one of his promises to be Prime Minister is to end the presence of foreign forces in Iraq.
This is the current Prime Minister.
Exactly.
And when did he make that promise?
Before he became, in order for him to become a,
But when did that happen? When was he elected?
it's not too far. It's like a year or something.
Okay.
So the question is, the real point here is now he's obligated to move toward getting the foreign military presence out of Iraq. Why? Because the parliament voted on that. He submitted that to the parliament, and the parliament voted on it. So he's obligated to do that.
And this is not just American forces.
Everything.
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 So what other countries do you know to have a presence, a military presence on Iraqi soil?
Well, I think Australia, some British, some other countries, French probably a little bit.
Don't the Canadians also
Also,
have?
the Canadians there, they do have Canadians.
Right,
They do
right.
have Canadians. You used to have Danish and Japanese, but they left. You know.
Did any of them leave after this motion was adopted by the Parliament?
No.
So basically, they've all thumbed their nose at the-
Yeah. Plus, we have an agreement between Iraq and the international forces. Because United States, let's say, reality, because it's the 2011. You know, the اتفاقية استراتيجية. This strategic deal between Iraq and the United States, and that strategic deal says that if somebody wants to, any part wants to get out of this agreement, has to submit a notion to the other part a year ahead, and after that year it would take place, and then they have to withdraw. But United States managed to keep their presence. Managed to keep their presence.
But the strategic deal, does it actually stipulate a deadline once the request has been submitted?
There is no deadline.
There's no deadline.
But
That's
it
quite a
says
deal.
after a year you have to
Start the process.
Yeah,
Basically.
you start the process. So we don't know the process. Yeah, we don't know. You see, the problems. Look, ISIS is a U.S. made, U.S., British, Israeli, and some Arab state-made group of people.
Just curious, why some people who are watching may find that difficult to believe. Why do you say that it's made by the?
Hillary Clinton said we made ISIS. Hillary Clinton said we made ISIS. Actually, during the Obama time, Hillary Clinton was asked during an interview in the U.S. Congress. They asked her, why did we leave Iraq? They were not happy leaving Iraq. We could not work a deal to stay there. And she said, we did not go to Iraq to get out of Iraq. See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing about ISIS before you continue. This is something that it irks me about this whole ISIS story. And I don't purport to know who created ISIS. I completely believe what you're saying is true. But I don't know enough about the organization to express an opinion with confidence. What I can say is this. Since the genocide started in Palestine, it's been going on now for 6 months. And of course, ISIS is supposed to be an organization of Muslim extremists.
Exactly.
Violent Muslim extremists. Also, I believe it's supposed to be an organization that's made up of people of Arabic origin as well.
Exactly.
So you have a genocide happening in occupied Palestine against people who are predominantly Muslim and who are
Sunnis Muslim. Let's put it this way.
yes, Sunni Muslim.
And
Correct.
ISIS is supposed to be a Sunni Muslim.
Yes,
too.
correct. And in that time, we are told that ISIS has launched 2 major terrorist attacks. One was in Iran, which opposes the genocide. Whatever you may think of the Iranian government, it opposes the genocide.
Exactly.
And the other was in Russia, which also has opposed genocide.
Exactly.
There's been no, as far as not even a claim
Exactly.
that they've launched a terrorist attack against the Americans who are supplying the weapons or the Israelis who are bombing with American weapons. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. I just have to get that off my chest. That seems quite odd.
Let me go further than that, actually. Everybody can read Mr. Humber. Diary of Mr. Humber.
Mr. Humber?
Mr. Humber. Mr. Humber was a spy sent over 300 years ago by the Ministry of Colonies, British Ministry of Colonies, to that region to create the Wahhabi sector. And he created the Wahhabi sector. And if people would read the diary and what he wrote, Mr. Humber, 300 years ago, they'll find my word correct 100%. They were the Wahhabis, the system of Saudi Arabia, and the Wahhabis that created ISIS. And the main source of ISIS was created the British 300 years ago. Muhammad Abdul Wahab, Mr. Humber, made him up.
Okay, so to return, thank you for allowing me to get that off my chest. So to return to the question of, now I've lost my, where were we on this subject? What caused us to start talking about ISIS?
ISIS, we call it, it's a United States, whether they made
Yes,
ISIS, how
yes,
did,
yes.
The question is, it's like everybody knows, how much it takes to gather people from all over the world on an idea, okay, and bring them to a country, support them with money, food, everything, and have them fight for years with the most, and they were armed with the best weapons. Actually, ISIS weapons, they were much better than the Iraqi.
The Iraqi army.
The Iraqi army weapon. Okay, you see all the weapon, or the logistic support, or all the money. They had camps. They were trained in Turkey. It's like there's what I'm trying to say is this did not come from nothing. This came from like deep planning on a lot of spending on a lot of abilities, because who told Turkey to open camps to train ISIS and to gather them, and then end up going to Syria and from Syria to Iraq? How did the Saudis, United States after 2001, they were fighting terrorism, right? So how could United Saudis and the rest of the Gulf areas and other countries, they were like giving money as charity, as contributions to support ISIS?
Yes, and one thing I want to say about this ISIS organization is that it seems to be used repeatedly to justify the continuation of U.S. military presence in the region.
Exactly, and especially in Iraq.
So it's another way, it's a very convenient, its existence, whoever may have created it. And I'm in no position to disagree with anything you're saying, it makes a lot of sense to me. But it seems that its very existence provides a lot of convenient and justifications for the United States to continue to dominate the region militarily.
Exactly. It's actually we call it an arm, as a U.S. partner, actually, and Syria. Because where is ISIS now from the real problems in Gaza, right?
Right, exactly.
It's something the world should know about that.
Now, one thing I also want to talk to you about is a sentiment that I heard expressed several times when I was in Jordan on this trip, but especially when I was in Lebanon. And the sentiment, and of course not everybody shares this sentiment, I'm sure there are many people who disagree, but the sentiment that I heard was that the countries, what are today, the countries of Iraq and Kuwait and Syria and Lebanon and most of Jordan and Palestine really should be one country. Now, is that a view that a significant proportion of the Iraqi population ascribes to, or is that something that is considered to be very, very fringe?
You see, these people, they don't know what they are talking about. Why? Because this is during the Jamal Abdel Nasser time. It's gone with Abdel Nasser.
And they actually don't agree with Nasser because they don't think that Egypt should be part of this country. They think that this is again, I'm just telling you what I heard, that this is a linguistically and culturally more or less homogenous region, and Egypt isn't part of that. The Saudis aren't part of that, and so forth.
Being honest. If Jordan wants to do something about that, let them get the embassy of the Zionists out of Amman first.
Right.
This is hypocrisy. People see. We need to know, as Muslims, as Arabs, as Middle Easterns, is our problem with Israel about nationality or religion? See that? I think it's about religion, it's not about nationality. It's because the drive of the West, United States, all the Zionists, their drive is a religious drive. The war of the fight of Hirogen and on the Messiah and their Messiah, their Christ, in order to come back, there is a big war and there is a big killing has to happen and all that. This is in their books. We are talking about something deeply implemented in the United States, Britain, and I don't know about Canada exactly because I'm not pretty familiar with Canada. Australia, all the Saxonians, let me put it this way. So it's not, as Iraqis, most of us, we looked at the conflict with the Zionists is a religious conflict. It's not about nationality.
They certainly invoke religion. There's no question about it. To them, they say that God promised them the land of what we call Palestine. That all of it belongs to them, and it's by virtue of by a divine decree. But personally, my belief is that behind the scenes, the more powerful people in this project of dispossessing the Palestinians, they have more practical objectives, and the more practical objective is they want Israel to be able to dominate the region because Israel is a means by which they control the resources of the region.
Exactly. Israel is a tool.
Right.
Israel is a tool.
And they use religion in order to manipulate that tool to their advantage.
Exactly. And it's basically all what we have right now in Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. We have also Bahrain, Egypt, Sudan, Morocco, Eritrea. We have Mr. Erdogan, the religious person who has an embassy of the Zionist embassy in his capital also, right? All these people are tools in the hand of Zionism. Pretty much. If you look at let's see. I mean, Hamas is fighting, the resistance line is fighting against Israel, and the Saudis comes and say we don't support Hamas because they went with the Shia. Okay, Hamas is fighting Sunnis, is fighting with the Shia, is fighting along with the Shia against Sunnis or against the Zionists. It's against the Zionists, right? So why don't you support them, Mr. Wahhabis? Why? It's because because the Wahhabis, it's like what I said, they were British made. And they implemented by United States, and they are running the show. Imagine, Emirates, 1975, Emirates does not even have a paved road. Right now, Emirates run over 70 ports, all over, the biggest ports all over the world, and has a big deal of a huge everything, and on the international arena, with their population does not exceed 750,000 people. Where did they get that from? Because they signed everything.
Right.
They signed everything. They won
The Abraham Accords.
the Abraham Accords, and we are against actually the Abraham Accords, and that's, you got it.
Right.
I mean, you got to the end of it. The Abraham Accords is what they are applying to implement in the Middle East.
Right.
No more Islam, no more Quran, no more something called Muhammad, no more anything. Abraham Accords, and everybody lives with everybody, and the Zionists comes as investors, and after like 50 years or so, they own the countries. Done deal.
Right. And the
Done deal.
Palestinians, everybody forgets about them.
It's not just Palestine. Forget about Palestine right now. But I guarantee you that a lot of countries will melt down too. Kuwait will melt down. Emirates will melt down. Qatar will melt down. Bahrain will melt down. Sultanate Oman will melt down. Other countries will melt down, totally disappear. Because that's how things work.
So, I want to talk to you to conclude our interview about the violence that got us here. You told me before we began this on-camera interview that you are part of an organization, and maybe it's the Belt and Road Initiative, or maybe it was a separate organization, that has compiled a very impressive record of U.S. military depravity in Iraq.
Exactly, yes.
Could you tell us about that?
Oh, this worked on Dr. Nasser Al-Kinani and others, and Al-Ghad al-Zahir, which I'm gonna have you meet Dr. Ali Abdul Sattar, who the head of the Al-Ghad al-Zahir. I called him, and we'll arrange for a meeting actually. We may go to his workplace actually, and we'll meet him.
Okay.
They spend over, I would think, over $1 million gathering every recorded tape, every picture, every information, every proof, every evidence about what the United States done in Iraq, and the damage, and how they were able to destroy Iraq. Even the sectarian violence, United States drove it to Iraq.
And this is a database, do I understand correctly? A database of evidence?
It's a book.
It's a book.
It's a book, and it's considered a database of evidence.
Right.
And we have it on PDF. It's a huge one, and we have it also on external RAMs, on CDs and things.
Well, I hope to post this on my website, and if I manage to do that, I'll certainly make our followers and subscribers aware.
Definitely, we will get you a copy of it. Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We will work on that. Yeah, the Belt and Road Initiative. It's like what I said. We are all over Iraq, and we don't just call for the Belt and Road Initiative and the joining of Iraq to the Belt and the Road Initiative. No. Actually, we call also on the Iraqi integrity of his own lands. So we need Iraq to be free out of any foreign presence on our lands. Also, we want the Iraqi economy, the Iraqi revenues to be run and to be in the safe of the Iraqi government, not other governments. You cannot build a country while your money is out of your hand. You cannot build a house. So it's United States. We talked about that. We talked about Bush, who signed the order, presidential order, that would have like we call it account, box account for the Iraqi development, and we have all the paper also. Prove and all the decisions and all that, and we'll actually pass them to you so you can show them.
You know, and you just reminded me about one other thing that I omitted to ask you about. There were, as was widely publicized in the West, there were attacks being launched by militants in Iraq against American military bases after the genocide began in Palestine.
Yes.
And I understand that they've been stopped, but some of those groups are launching attacks on Israel.
Yes.
Directly.
Yeah.
Why were they stopped?
Okay. Muhammad Shah Sudani told them that's in.
I'm sorry, who's that?
The Iraqi Prime Minister.
Yes. Okay.
Muhammad Shah Sudani.
Right.
Sat with them, and United States started assassinating some of their people inside of the Iraqi cities, inside of Baghdad. They were bombing people in the street. United States were bombing people in the street, in the houses, in the places where they live. It's like either my way or the highway, you know. So and things got start to accelerate. So Muhammad Shah Sudani said, okay, it's part of my promise that we would get the foreign forces out of Iraq in order, he promised that in order for him to be a prime minister. Let us work things out in that way with the United States. Let us stop fighting on the land of Iraq with the United States and work it in a diplomatic way. And I think he got a visit right now to pretty soon to the United States. He'll meet with that devil, Biden. Biden is a devil.
Yes.
And
I won't disagree with that. So, this group that is currently, or it could be more than one, that are launching attacks against Israel. Is there any relation? Who are these groups, and is there any relationship between them and the National Army of Iraq?
No. They're basically
independent of the national.
They are Hashid. The public movement of Hashid about the fatwa when they created the Al-Hashd al-Shabi, the public movement by the Grand Ayatollah Ali Sistani, and some of them, let's say, like Hezbollah, Kataib, Nujaba, Al-Asaib, other sectors, and they right now majority goes on the Al-Kataib on the Nujaba. They are facing the United States pretty much. It's basically they are Shia Muslim.
These militants.
Yes.
Yes.
And this is not new. They fought United States from day one after the fall of Saddam Hussein.
After they fought Saddam, they fought the United States.
They fought the United States till they drove the United States out of the wall and they got it out of Iraq, 2011.
Right. The majority of the forces.
The majority of the forces. They
Yes.
drove it out.
Yes.
So they are the same people.
Right.
They are the same people.
Right.
Yeah, they are the same people.
Well, it's been a great pleasure talking to you today, Hussein. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I look forward to continuing our conversation.
Yeah, well, Dimitri, it's been nice talking to you. Hopefully we'll keep in touch, and hopefully we brought a picture to your audience about what's really going on in Iraq and what the United States is doing to this country and to this region in general.
I think we've
it's a big mess. It's a big mess.
Certainly been very informative for me.
I mean, they forced the new liberalism on a country that used to run by social system, and they are driving us out of the wall with all these investments that they are giving to the people connected with the Zionist movement, national Zionist movement. Okay, so you bring somebody from Egypt or from Jordan or from or from Emirates or other countries, and you see they are scientists.
Zionists.
Zionists.
Yes, yes.
Okay?
Right.
They are Zionists. And you see them, you know them, you see them in like on the Zionist group, on WhatsApp and other places, and they comes up investors in Iran. So what they want? What they want.
That's the question.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank
You
you
are
so much.
welcome.
And this is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you from Baghdad on March 30th, 2024.